Wednesday night Trinity class, my favorite time of the week. We talk about the energy of integrity tonight. Integrity comes in many different forms. Unfortunately, most of us use sort of an old-fashioned integrity, a singular integrity. We're moving into a new age, the fifth dimension, some people call it. The vibration of the planet has increased. All of us are living in a slightly higher vibration. We need to start thinking in terms of joining together instead of hunkering down into our little camps. And unfortunately, the way we think of integrity tends to be, I'm doing my thing according to my principles in my space. And everything outside might be a distraction. It might pull me off. I might slip from my moral high ground if I am too interactive with the outside world. So integrity tends to be me putting a flag in the ground and saying, this is where I stand. And it's very exclusive. It's my space, and it doesn't invite anybody to join. It's pretty much, you can step into my space and do things exactly my way, or you'll be wrong. Well, you know, maybe nobody else is exactly like you, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. There's a higher form of integrity where we work together, that all of us are parts of a vast machine. We are pieces of an assembly line that produces amazing products. But no piece of that assembly line is so important that the others need to just back off and be quiet. All the pieces of the assembly line have a job to do, and each one of them is important. There has to be some joining in our integrity. The easiest way I've found to accomplish this is to raise your energy. We do a lot of things in martial arts where you anchor your energy down, and you're very grounded. There's a horse stance, and a lot of wrestling moves have leverage in them, and it's all about putting your energy down. And unfortunately, that's what we do with integrity a lot. It's very much a downward energy. But there's also a tradition in the martial arts of raising your energy. If you want to do any sort of move where you're able to kick or spin or anything like that, you have to raise your energy. It's a lot like dancing. You can't dance with anybody if you're anchored. You dance with somebody when you're raising your energy up. That's the time when joining is possible. So we want to investigate integrity in a joining sort of way. We did some partner exercises tonight, and they were very simply about raising our intonation. In the English language, we tend to make statements, declarative statements, end in a downward intonation, a downward inflection. I like broccoli. Boom. Now, if you happen to like eggplant, well then I made it clear that that's not good. I like broccoli. Hear how my voice goes, and anchors down at the end? The only time we ever change that is if we're asking a question. Do I like broccoli? My voice goes up at the end. But it's so hardwired into us that the only time we do that is when we're asking the question. You don't have to do that. Your voice could go up and it not be a question. You don't want to have that little bend at the end. I like broccoli? That sounds like I'm unsure. I'm sure I like broccoli, but I also want to invite you to participate in this debate. What's your favorite vegetable? Maybe we can get them all in there together. I'm not saying mine is right. I'm just putting out there my piece so that I can hear your piece. So what I want to do instead is have sort of a stair-step raise in my intonation. They did this a lot on the old TV show Seinfeld. I like broccoli. I like broccoli. You hear how it goes up? There's nothing confrontational about that. I'm stating my opinion. I do like broccoli, but I'm leaving it open for you to say, well, I like carrots, or whatever it is. I'm offering to join. Simply by raising your intonation all through your sentence, not just that little question mark hook at the end, but stair-stepping it up all the way through your statement, you are raising your energy and making it possible for joining to occur. So we did a partner exercise. We would take somebody and just say something controversial to them, like, I think you're spending too much time at home. And we let them feel how that felt. Did that feel good?
No.
No.
Felt judged.
Accusatory. And then we change it. I feel like you're spending too much time at home. Same statement, but now it's more like, am I right? Am I wrong? Join in. Let me know how you feel about this. Didn't you experience that differently?
Didn't feel like an accusation.
Yeah. We did a little of that back and forth, exchanging statements. First as a declarative sentence with that downward intonation at the end, and then as an interrogative sentence with that upward intonation. Upspeak, some people call it, or rising inflection. Don't want to get too questioning. Sounds like you're a valley girl then. I like broccoli. You know, you're immature, you're ditzy. You don't want that. You want to still tell your subconscious, this is where I stand and it is important. But you want to have that joining that comes in. We try to raise our energy not only with our voice, but with our hand. As I talk, I like broccoli. I bring my hand up. If it's a little weird to you to just be waving your hand, just finish with, you know, a hair comb or something. Just have a reason why your hand goes up. But bring your hand up as your voice goes up. As your voice goes up, bring your hand up. That lifts your energy, even subconsciously. We took it a step further. We had the person do this hair comb maneuver, and go, Hear how my voice goes up? And I would say something like, I hear that your sister has been bad-mouthing you. And just let them feel how that felt. Ooh, that feels bad, doesn't it? Now, same thing, but you're going to go, I hear that your sister has been bad-mouthing you. Okay, that's a little weird. I want to just keep it kind of sub-vocal.
But at least I'm like, that's fine, whatever.
Sure. You'll experience information differently. If you walk into your house and somebody's broken a casserole dish and it's all over the floor, before you react, before you think, what do I do, how do I feel, who did this, before anything, go, Raise your hand, raise your voice, get your energy up, and then look at the same situation and see if it doesn't affect you differently. This is a new kind of integrity. This is you standing in your space, but still not being stuck where you are. If you find that helpful, come to Trinity class. We'll talk some more next time.